Hello, welcome to part two of my 2025 best and worst. This is going to be the best. I previously posted the worst, but this is going to be so much more fun. We're going to talk about the best TV and movies that were released in 2025 that I saw. And we're also going to talk about the best books that I read in 2025, except we're just going to talk about some highlights of the books I read in 2025 that didn't make it to my top 25 books of the year list, because I'm going to make a whole separate part going into depth about my top 25 books of 2025, because there's just way too much to say, and we would be here for a really long time. We're already going to be here for a really long time talking about TV, movies, and honestly, an embarrassing long list of book highlights that didn't make it to my 2025 because I had such a good reading year. Okay, I read 195 books. It is really hard not to have so many great ones to talk about, especially just because I just had so much fun reading this year. It's probably the most fun I've had reading ever in my life. Like, I don't know, I'm reading what I want when I want, and being able to share it with other people through like book club and talking about it online in this way again is just, I just love it. It's so fun. So I'm really excited about today. We're going to start with TV. And of course, there is a big elephant in the room, and we will get to it. We will get to the hockey players, okay? We will get to it. But we're going to start with some reality TV first. I love reality TV. It's probably my favorite kind of TV to watch, even though I am picky about it. I get really into the ones that I do choose to get into, and I get really emotionally invested, which I admitted to in my previous review of Love Island Season 7. But so we're going to talk about two reality shows that aired this year that I absolutely really loved, and I thought it was golden television. So we're going to start with Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and I'm actually going to cheat on this one a little bit. We're going to talk about seasons 5 and season 6 because they have aired, like season 5 aired fall 2024 to the beginning of 2025. So we had the finale and the reunion in 2025, so it feels like it happened this year because there was such a big mid-season break, which was so strange. It's probably normal, but I still find it strange. And then season 6 started this last fall and ended last night, and I just got finished watching the episode, the finale, and I'm so excited for the reunion. The reunions are my favorite part of Real Housewives. I watched the first 10 seasons of Beverly Hills by only watching the reunions because I could not be arsed to watch every second of that to get to where I wanted to get to in the show, to catch up. It's mostly like the quality that I can't do. I just can't. It's like season 1 of Drag Race. It's got that kind of, I can't watch that season. It just looks so bad. So that's unfortunate. But man, did I get into Beverly Hills last year. But that is another story for another day. Beverly Hills, I think, is airing right now, and I really need to catch up. So we'll get there. And another wrap up in another time. But talking about Salt Lake City was the first Real Housewives franchise that I ever truly got into. I had tried watching a few of the others before I watched Salt Lake City, and then I watched Salt Lake City, and I was like, oh, this is what you guys are talking about. This is how you guys feel about these incredibly awful women. But it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I love Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. My 3 favorite cast members currently are Bronwyn Newport, thank you, season 5 and season 6. for Bronwyn Newport in my life. And I also love Angie K. I mean, I feel so, what is the opposite of maternal? I want her to feel maternal towards me. What is it? I feel daughterly to her. I feel like her daughter. I wish, she is just so mother to me. I love her so much. I find her so charming, and I think she can lay the insults down. When Angie K is mad, she starts saying shit that, like, is so, she would do so, you know what, she would do so good on Stan Twitter. She would do so well on Stan Twitter, and that is a shame that Angie K will not be on Stan Twitter. I wish. Maybe she is. Who knows? I don't know everybody's life. Maybe she is. Plenty of those women get accused of being on fan accounts, and of course, Salt Lake City itself has had the scandal of one of the women running one of the snark hate fan accounts. So, can't put it past them. But she would do really great. And then my third favorite cast member currently, and I'm so happy she's been back in the last 2 seasons as a snowflake, and that is Mary Cosby. I love Mary Cosby so much, okay? She is just a gem. She is perfect television. That woman was born to be on television, and she's so nonchalant about it. It's like she doesn't even know that she was born to be on television. It's just natural to her. Her natural embodiment of who she is and who she believes she is so entertaining. And I love every minute that Mary Cosby is on my screen, even when I disagree with her, and I disagree with all of them all the time. I think the drama is great. I think we are, in this next season, when season 7 airs at the end of 2026, I just don't think we're in need of Meredith Marks being a snowflake anymore. She really does need to be demoted to friend of Lisa Barlow, because that is the only thing she's got going for her on this show anymore. And if I had it my way, Lisa Barlow would never work again. But she does make some great TV. And I truly think watching Lisa and John's marriage is like such an insane social experiment that I couldn't give that up for anything. So, it's the cast is really great. I would like Brittany to just not be on the show, but I'm okay if she still stays a friend of. I'm tired of hearing about her and her daughter, because it's such bullshit, and I really can't get into it. I really can't get into it. She can, if she gets promoted to Snowflake next season, and it's honestly looking like she's going to be, just because of her presence in this season, and being at the center of many things. And trust me, I'm on her side about the plane, okay? I'm like Mary. I can hate Brittany, but understand when someone is most likely been a victim of someone else's absurd behavior. Meredith Marks. So we'll see. We'll see what the reunion reveals about the plane. Maybe I'll have some more to say about the Salt Lake City season 6 after these next 3 reunion episodes. I don't know. We'll see over the next 3 weeks what I feel about. But it's a great. If you have not gotten to Real Housewives yet, I highly recommend Salt Lake City being your first dive into it. Be opening your first season of Salt Lake City and it just being a fight about Mary Cosby telling Jen Shaw that she smells like hospital is so golden. And it just gets better and better. And Jen Shaw, she recently got out of prison, so we'll see what happens in season 7 as we talk about Jen Shaw. Honestly, I hope they don't bring her up at all. I think what she did is really devastating to a lot of people. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. So we're going to move on to the next reality show I want to talk about. And I definitely, this is definitely this is a dating reality show. I really do, I'm really picky on dating reality shows. But this one is one I'd never watched before. I thought it was absurd. I thought it was like, why would anyone do that? Like, why would you put yourself in that situation? And that would be Temptation Island. And specifically, this is about the season. It's like season like 7 or something. Actually like season 6 or 7, but it's season 1 on Netflix, because Netflix took over production of Temptation Island, and I will not give Netflix their props for many things. In fact, I will shit on Netflix endlessly all the time, any day that you give me a chance to. But one thing I will give them is their production value that they added to Temptation Island. They went off with that. I loved this new season, and I also do need to go back and watch, was it the Brazilian season that went viral this year with the guy running across the beach? I do need to go back and watch that. I keep forgetting to. But this was the American version. And the most evil man I have ever witnessed in my entire life on reality television, which I have watched every season of Love is Blind. So let's start there. And let's also just real quick comment about how Love is Blind needs to end, because they cannot make a season anymore. That should have made it on my worst list. I'm sorry I didn't add that. Love is Blind this year was ass. And it continues to be, every season. So since like season 4, and I think that's even pushing it. So I don't know, they need to go back to the South where people actually want to get married. And I know that's a stereotype, but I live here, so I can say that. But like their first season was in Atlanta, and I just think maybe y'all can disagree with me, but I think there's just more people in the South that live on this like timeline of wanting to get married and I just think that's why, like if you think about the people who got married and are still together from the first season, like those are people who really wanted to be married. And I think that's what they're running into. And I don't know if I think it's inevitable that they're going to run into people who just want to be influencers. Also, why am I talking about Love is Blind? We're supposed to be talking about Temptation Island. I'm so sorry, we're going back. Okay, Temptation Island. The most evil man I have ever witnessed on my screen was on this season of Temptation Island. I mean, he should be in prison for the way he emotionally abused this woman on national television. I feel like I have charges against this man for the emotional turmoil he put me through. I can't remember his name, but if you've seen this season, you know exactly who I'm talking about. You know what his partner did in the end. That was just jaw-dropping, but also not surprising at all, considering the way he eats at her reasoning and her own perspective of the world. He just tears it apart, and I feel so bad for her. I don't know if I really, 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 really hope they're not still together. I haven't kept up with the Temptation Island couples, but I am really excited. Season 2 airs this spring, so I am excited for another season of Temptation Island that is messy as hell. And I recommend the other seasons too. I went back and watched a lot of them. Next one I want to talk about is season 3 of Yellow Jackets. Yes, I did dress up as the Antler Queen this past Halloween. I love Yellow Jackets. Okay, so I might be a little biased, but I really like this season. I know a lot of fans did not like Yellow Jacket season 3. They thought that the plot points came out of nowhere, despite the creators claiming that they'd been there. They've been planning some of these since season 1. Now, I'm not gonna argue that either which way, because do I think they're lying a little bit? Yeah, I do, but I think that's okay. I think I think the seeds of what they did in season 3 probably existed in the beginning. Um, and they embellished onto it, and that's fine. I will say my least favorite part of this season was Hilary Swank. I really didn't think she did that great of a job, unfortunately. And I just thought that was I don't know, I didn't like that part of the adult timeline. But I loved the teen timeline. Of course, the teen timeline is always the best. I really liked how it developed. I love Shauna's character. Sorry to the Shauna haters. Um, y'all can watch another show because she is the main character and she is crazy out there in the wilderness. And honestly, so much of the what y'all say to criticize Shauna just makes me so angry because of what that girl has been through. And obviously it's not, I mean, none of those characters have any morals left to stand on out there in that wilderness. But I do think, you know, me defending a fictional character, I would defend her until I ran out of breath. So that's me. That's personally my thoughts on Shauna Shipman and Yellow Jacket season 3. I'm so excited they decided to announce that season 4 would be the last season, because I think this really is a show that we need to know its ending to go into the last season, because I would hate for the show to get canceled and end on a cliffhanger. I think that would be the worst thing that could possibly happen to me when it comes to Yellow Jacket. So I'm okay with it ending in season 4. We probably won't get that till 2027. I'm 100% sure we won't get that till 2027. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Next one I wanted to talk about was Gen V, which, if you don't know, is the spin-off of the Amazon Prime series The Boys. That is kind of like a political satire series that uses superheroes instead of like government. The government's still corrupt too, but it's really good. Okay, and The Boys is really good, but it's definitely not as good as it once was in these last few seasons. And so when they decided to make this spin-off that focuses on college age soups in Gen V, in this superhero college, with all these different kinds of characters, with all different kinds of backgrounds, very diverse, very queer. I was so excited because I felt like it was really refreshing to this idea and this concept. And I thought it was a really smart move by the creators and by Prime. So, and I loved season 1. And so, of course, I was really, really excited for season 2 to come out this year. And it did not disappoint. I loved Marie Monroe. I loved Jordan Lee. Kate, I have some very complicated feelings about you. Emma, I need more. I like need them to really dive into how badass Emma can be in hopefully the next season. I don't think it's gotten renewed yet for season 3, and that's really devastating if it doesn't. So if anyone needs a reminder to go watch Gen V so we can get a season 3, here's your reminder. And now we're going to talk about one more before we get to the big one. We're going to talk about Severance. I will say Severance season 1 is mountains better than season 2, but I still really, really liked season 2. And I watched both of the seasons this year. So I watched them pretty much back to back. I had not seen Severance season 1, and I know it came out, 3 or 4 years ago. It was a long time ago. I had not seen it. So I watched them pretty much back to back. And I will say, season 1 is loads better than season 2, but season 2 was still really good, and I thought it was a great continuation of the story. I'm really interested in season 3. Maybe when we get it when I'm 50 years old, it'll be really great. The main reason I loved season 2 was because I am such a Gemma stan. I love Gemma. I like Mark. I'm a Mark and Gemma person. Okay. I've seen the Twitter fights. I love a beautiful woman who haunts the narrative. That actress, I'm blanking on her name. She was in The 100. She is so good in Severance, and I just love, I really love that plot line. I can't wait to see more from Gemma. And I think we should give Gemma a gun. Don't you guys think? Hashtag give Gemma a gun in season 3 of Severance. Okay. And let's talk about the hydrogen bomb on planet Earth, known as Heated Rivalry. Okay. When I read Heated Rivalry, the book in June, I had no earthly clue it was going to be a television show. And you know what was happening while I was reading that book for the very first time? They were filming Heated Rivalry. And it just, look, I just can't believe it's turned into what it's turned into. Like, just today, Connor Story, which if you guys haven't seen Joker 2, he's in Joker 2. Okay, that was my introduction to Connor Story. But Connor Story announced the nominations of the Actor Awards, previously formerly known as the SAG Awards. He announced the nominations for that today with Janelle James. Very cute little duo, by the way. And Hudson Williams went on the Tonight Show and was interviewed by Andy Cohen, and had crowds of hundreds of people in New York to see him today. So seriously, I cannot believe what this show has turned into. I found out about this show the day before the first trailer dropped back in, what was it, early October. And I thought they were perfect from the beginning. That's also the same day I found out that there was a second book that follows Ilya and Shane. I knew that there was a more series in that Game Changer series, but I didn't know there was another one that followed Ilya and Shane. So that was really fun to find out. Reread Heated Rivalry, and picked up The Long Game right after that, and then got really excited for the show. And I had no idea that so many people were gonna fall so in love with this show, and it's so much fun to watch because it really is. I think it's a unique show that gets this big, and it's a unique show in the fact that it's a queer story that doesn't involve a lot of tragedy, and it's really, really fun, while also being really deep and moving and relatable to all different kinds of people. So I just think Heated Rivalry is one of the best things that happened to us in 2025. I can't wait for season 2 and season 3. I hope there's a third book, but that might be something we talk about more in another episode. So just some honorable mentions TV-wise. One show I rewatched over and over again this year that didn't air this year, but I still will recommend until I'm blue in the face, is Interview with the Vampire on AMC+. It's also on Netflix. Please, please, please tune in. It is probably the best television show to air in the last decade. I don't know. It's the best show that's on television right now. Jacob Anderson and Sam Reed are two of the best actors I've ever witnessed in my entire life. I could talk about one scene for so long with how subtle and intricate their performances are, in such a good way. I think both of the actresses who play Claudia, Bailey Bass and Delaney Hales, are both just so talented and such stars. And I can't wait to see Bailey Bass in more of the Avatar movies. I haven't seen the newest Avatar movie yet, so I'm really excited to see her in that. And then my second mention is kind of in related to Interview with a Vampire. This is a show recommendation that I got from Sam Reed himself, and this is another reality television show called Popstar Academy. It did not air in 2025. It aired in 2024, 2023. I can't remember, but it is the documentary about the formation and training of the girl group Cat's Eye. And it is also excellent reality television show. If you're in, especially if you're into the music industry, it made me really sad in a lot of parts, just the way young girls are treated, and what they put themselves through, and the way they treat each other. But it was ultimately a really, really great piece of television. So that was my honorable mentions for TV. For movies, we don't have as many to talk about. I just didn't have a great movie year. I didn't watch a lot of movies that I really wanted to watch. So I really need to get onto that. But I have 3 really great movies to talk about. These are all movies I gave 5 stars. I think they're all pretty much perfect. My first one is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, with Oscar Isaac and Mia Goth and Jacob Elordi. It's on Netflix. It's amazing. I love the book Frankenstein. I reread it after watching the movie, but I read it in high school, and it was I probably would consider it and Macbeth tied for my favorite books I was forced to read by the Alabama curriculum system. So it is, really fun to have another adaptation of it, and for this one to be so transformative in the way that it feels so fresh, but also still true to the heart of the novel, while also having this beautiful aesthetic that Guillermo made for it, and it's acted beautifully. Jacob Elordi just won an award for his performance as the creature, and I think he should win more and more. I hope he gets an Oscar nomination for it, because I think he did a phenomenal job. It's definitely my favorite role of his yet. So yeah, I loved Frankenstein. Beautiful costumes. If they're not gonna get any Oscar nominations in acting or other categories, I really hope they get one in costuming, because it is probably some of the best I've seen in film. It's impeccable, and I would love to see those costumes in person. They're gorgeous. That movie was really fantastic. Next one I want to talk about is Die, My Love. This one is the one that stars Jennifer Lawrence, J-Law, and Robert Pattinson, or Pat. 2 of my favorite actors for sure. Both, really big parts of my childhood, The Hunger Games and Twilight. And I also think they are very hilarious people. They're fun to watch in interviews. So I did kind of watch their press tour leading up to going to see this movie. So I was really excited about it. And went to go see it, and it was really great. This movie has a lot of mixed reviews, and I think that's perfectly valid. I can definitely see the reason someone wouldn't like this movie, but I loved it. I was entranced from the beginning. I want to read the book now. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will give a trigger warning that this book is about postpartum, and it's not just about postpartum depression or even postpartum psychosis. Those things heavily play into it, but it's just also the way women are treated by society post-birth, that I think was my favorite commentary in the movie, and the way Jennifer Lawrence was able to portray it through her character's arc, and almost descent into madness throughout the entire movie. And I thought it was shot so beautifully. The lighting in this movie was gorgeous. The set design and the costuming fit so well. I thought it was shot really great. There were some scenes where the camera was set up still setting in one place in the house, and Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson, who are a young married couple, were moving in and out of frame, and it was such a cute little part of it. And so I just think the movie did a really good job of creating the character and story arcs that it did. So I really highly recommend Die, My Love. And then my favorite movie of the year, and I hope it's most people's favorite movie of the year, because it should be, because it's objectively one of the most amazing movies ever created, and that is Sinners. I mean, the whole cast is so, so amazing. I love the soundtrack. I love rewatching this movie. It's so rewatchable. It's such a fun time. Semi. That's my favorite part. I mean, now that I've said it, I'm probably going to start saying it for the rest of the night. So I love Sinners. And I hope it wins everything. I hope it sweeps some of the best original music I've heard in a musical in a while. It's not a musical, but a movie with music as a center point. And the vampire lore was so cool. It was a genuine, unique, and moving horror movie that just had so much depth and history. And every time I watch it, I'm finding new details. And I love Sinners. I could go on forever and ever and ever about how great Sinners is. Okay, and honorable mentions. This one's not necessarily a movie, but it did release in 2025. This is the Next to Normal Pro Shot that PBS released in the month of July. I don't know if it's still up. I think it was only up for a month, but if you can find it anywhere, oh my God, if you're into stage musicals and you love watching a good pro shot, I cannot recommend the Next to Normal Pro Shot enough. Jack Wolf is in it. If you don't know who Jack Wolf is, maybe if you're a Six of Crows head, you would recognize him as Wylan from the awful Six of Crows Grishaverse adaptation. It wasn't awful, I'm being mean, it just was canceled, and they gave up the best Brecker casting they could have ever gotten in their entire lives, and it's so disappointing, and this is why I don't like Netflix. Anyways, what was I? Jack Wolf. I knew he was a good actor based on what little we saw him in season 2 of what is that? Bone and whatever that show is called, the Grishaverse show. And I knew he was supposed, and he is currently starring on Broadway as oh my God, I'm blanking. He's in Hadestown. He's the main character of Hadestown. Don't even ask me. You know what? Don't. I'm sorry, but the main character of Hadestown, he's playing that right now. Previously played by Jordan Fisher, and other amazing people. But Jack Wolf is in the pro shot for Next to Normal, and he's so great in it. But the whole cast is really, I mean, I'd never seen Next to Normal before, and I got a little obsessed after watching the pro shot. So that means it's good. And I just think we should do more pro shots, less musical adaptations, more pro shots. And then my next honorable mention for movies is a movie that came out in 2024 that I watched this year. And this is one of the most, when I think about this movie, I still get like this pit in my stomach, because it's probably one of the most devastating things I've ever watched through animation. And that was Memoir of a Snail. This is another one I can't recommend enough, but I'm like gonna tell you, like, be prepared to cry. I cried so hard. I thought it was a really great storytelling, really unique storytelling in the way it was animated. I thought it was visually very interesting, and I had a good time despite the emotional stress it put me through. So we're going to move on to the book section, and I'm just going to remind everyone that these are not my favorite books of the year. That is going to be in another part. My top 25 books of the year is going to be another part. This is just what didn't make the cut, okay? And also rereads. I'm going to talk about rereads because I didn't put that in my top 25. So that'll be fun to talk about. But real quick, I'm just going to mention 2 thrillers that I didn't like, that I forgot to mention in my last episode, just to give you guys more of a reference of ones I'm not a huge fan of. The first one was Saltwater. This was a book club book, and I forget who it's by, but it was very much giving White Lotus, and it was nonsensical in a lot of different ways. It had too many plots, and yeah, that was, I don't think I'm that interested in reading about rich people. I don't think I really ever have been. So that was, yeah, I'm not a fan of that one. And then the second one I read was actually a arc I got from NetGalley, and the premise sounded really interesting. It's called My Lips, Her Voice. This is a sapphic thriller about a girl who dies in her hometown, but her ghost doesn't go away. It kind of gets into her cousin's body. And so most of this book is told through the point of view of her cousin. That's the main character. We sometimes get point of views from the deceased girl. And we also sometimes get point of views from deceased girl's girlfriend. And basically, like, deceased girl's ghost is taking over her cousin's body and is able to speak and interact with the world to try to figure out her own murder. She doesn't remember how she was murdered. And they want to stop it from happening to more girls in this town because that's what's happening. And remember how I said I don't like ghost romance stories? I also don't think I liked this because it was partly romance, partly thriller. And oh man, I don't know. I like ghosts, but this whole like possession thing, it didn't work for me. I actually thought every single character was so insufferable. So there was also that. And oh man, what was I gonna say about the ending? I think the ending really fell flat. So yeah, I didn't like My Lips, Her Voice either. So that's just talking about some thrillers. Let's get into the books I actually did like. The first one I'm going to talk about is one I went back and forth about adding to my top 25 so many times, and that was When the Tides Held the Moon. That book is by before I say who it's by, I'll tell you what it's about as I look up who it's by. It is about is he Puerto Rican? It's an immigrant boy who's working for Coney Island, and it's set in like the I want to say like 30s, 40s, and it's just a very different time period. But he's working at Coney Island at the circus, where they show like oddities and things like that. And one of the oddities that his boss has gotten is a merman, and is keeping it in a large water tank. And our main character Benny, he talks to the merman and gets to know him, learns kind of like the language, and they of course fall in love. You guys, they fall in love. It's a romance story, and it was beautiful. I really enjoyed the action. I enjoyed the found family in this book. The like circus members were really interesting. I really enjoyed all of their dynamics, especially with Benny. So it's not just Benny's relationship with Rio the merman, it's his relationship with the entire cast of characters. I thought was really special. I thought the writing was really great. The art was fantastic. It's not a graphic novel, but the physical copy does have beautiful illustrations throughout the chapters, and I mean truly so it really added to the experience. Very beautiful. The cover is very beautiful. This one was nominated for a Goodreads Choice Award for a debut, I think, and so that if it is a debut, which it is, that is just really amazing. The author's name is Vanessa Vita Kelly, and I just think this was a really great one. I will definitely be reading more from that author. I think what they did with this one was, sorry, my cat is going to start sneezing Dipper, you need a Claritin. When I When the Tides Held the Moon was just, it was one of those really beautiful fantasy romances, and it's not your typical romantasy. Okay, it's a romance book with a fantastical element. We can call it maybe magical realism, something like that. But it was a great romance story. So the next book we're going to talk about is Deep Cuts. Deep Cuts is about it's set in the 70s or the 80s, like very high in the rock and roll world. And we follow our two main characters. Mainly, we follow a girl who has a boyfriend, a long-standing relationship with this guy who's, he's at the beginning, he's just a wannabe rock star. Like, he's talented, but he's just like, he's not famous. His band hasn't taken off. His music hasn't taken off. And then as the book goes on, of course, that changes. And they both grow in the music world, and she is a very talented writer. And there's a lot of manipulation and toxic relationship stuff. It's like not even, it's like such a slow burn too. And like they're in a relationship, but not in a relationship for most of it. But the way that I ate this book up in one sitting. I just thought it was so entertaining. That was probably my favorite part about Deep Cuts. The author's name is Holly Brickley. And it's only like 277 pages. I just looked it up. So, it's a really quick read where you can just kind of like, I couldn't put it down. I just wanted to know how it ended. And, it was really fun. It was definitely one of my favorite things I read this year. And if you're looking for something kind of messy, that maybe, involves a lot of, music, in not a corny way, in my opinion, maybe pick up Deep Cuts, especially if you like historical romance that's not set in Victorian London. If you're looking for maybe a different timeline, or maybe if you like Daisy Jones and the Six, I think you would really like this. So, Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley was really good. It just didn't make my top 25. Another book that I think might be surprising that I hadn't read before this is Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. Okay, I tried reading Twilight so many times as a child, like 5th grade when it was really popular. When everyone I knew was reading the books, and the first movie was coming out, and it was like taking over the world. I bought myself a copy of Twilight, and I remember going with my dad. He was going hunting, and I was like sitting in the woods with him trying to read Twilight, and I honestly found Bella to be so boring in those first few chapters that I would have rather like looked out the window and watched paint dry than to read that. And so I never picked it up again. And I think I tried in college to read it, but it just, again, I couldn't get past those first few chapters. And I don't think they hook you very well, if I had to give some critiques. But once you do get past them, and I did this year, okay, I read the whole book. Twilight is a masterpiece of like young adult supernatural romance. I loved Bella and Edward. I cannot believe, I haven't read New Moon yet, so I know Jacob becomes such a much bigger role in that one. I cannot believe how much they inserted this love triangle into the first movie, because this book is just like my man, and she does not see anyone else, and I don't blame her, because he is something else in this book. I love Robert Pattinson. I don't think they directed him correctly in that movie. I don't, because he's a different character in the book to me, and I loved it. And I don't know if I'm going to continue the series, because my problems with Stephenie Meyer continue throughout this series, and I know that for a fact. But with how charming and charismatic I found Edward in in Twilight, I'm very tempted to continue. So who knows? Maybe I will pick it up. But I just thought I thought that was really. I am really glad. I am really glad that I waited till I was an adult to read Twilight, because I don't think I would have appreciated it the way that I if I would have read it in 5th grade when it was popular. I don't think any of us who read it in 5th grade fully grasped it, but and I'm sure if I read it in high school, I would have gotten it a lot better. But I really do think I needed to be this age to read Twilight and enjoy it, because it was so fun. It was so fun. And it is honestly one I would reread. I think it's a great first book. I think it could have ended after this book and been a really perfect supernatural romance. So the next one I'm going to talk about is called Martyr. And this book is about a boy who, what is his name? Is it Cyrus? He is wanting to interview this artist at this museum that's doing this live-in exhibit where you go and you sit down and speak with her. He is a orphan son of Iranian immigrants. We get a dual timeline looking back at his mother and her time in Iran leading up to where we end up with Cyrus being in New York City and in Brooklyn, participating in this art exhibit that he's so interested in. And Cyrus in himself is an addict, and he's going through things with that. And, also things in his friend group and his own personal trauma and history based on his life and how his life turned out. And the reveal at the end of this book, I just thought was really wonderful. I thought it was done really well. By the time it was revealed, I was putting it together, and I think that was really special type of writing. I thought this book was written pretty phenomenally. And I will definitely be picking up more from Kaveh Akbar, because I just thought Martyr was phenomenal. And I do think it lacked a little bit on the pacing. So that's where it didn't make my top 25, but it came really, really close. So I highly recommend Martyr. The next one, and before we talk about my rereads of the year, I want to talk about a memoir that didn't make my top 25 that almost did, and that was Down the Drain by Julia Fox. I listened to the audiobook. She narrates it. I highly recommend any memoir that's narrated by the author. Please take that option, especially if you've never listened to an audiobook before. I think that's a great way to dive into them for the first time because it's so personal, and I really enjoyed this memoir. I've read a few this year. I really liked a lot of them that I read, but this one was definitely one of my favorites. Julia Fox, it has such an entertaining life and history, and the way she talks about things is very unique and interesting. And she's definitely had her scandals. She's had her more controversial moments. definitely. But I thought this book was really raw and honest, and that she did a great job. And so, as long as you can keep my interest in a memoir, I think you've done a really, decent job. And then if it's also like so good that I'm thinking about it and telling people about it once I finish, and recommending it, it's pretty good. So I highly recommend Down the Drain. So now to finish up with my rereads I did this year. The first book I read in 2025 was actually a reread. I've been trying to do that. It just kind of gets me back in the mood for reading for the year. And this one was I reread When the Moon Hatched, by Sarah A. Parker, which is a big tome of a romantasy book that involves dragons that a lot of people hate, but I really love. I reread it because I might be an idiot and I thought that the second book was coming out last April, but it was actually coming out in the fall, and then it got pushed back to this April 2026. So I'm probably gonna have to reread it again, but that's okay because I really liked it. But yeah, I can't. I don't want to spoil anything, because I really liked going into this book blind, just knowing that it was about dragons, and there is like these three different climates that have different kinds of dragons and different kinds of governments in this world. And yeah, I think that's all you need to know, because I don't know, I think this is definitely one that you should just go into, because I think if you don't like it, it's definitely one that you can just DNF because it is so long. But if you do like it, it is such a fun ride. So, let's get into the two series that I reread and their completion in 2025. The first one is All for the Game, by Nora Sakavic, and I did reread the original trilogy, which is The Foxhole Court, The Raven King, and All the King's Men, and then I reread the first book in the sequel trilogy, which is called The Sunshine Court, and then we'll get to it when I talk about my top 25 of the year, but I also read the newest book in the second trilogy, which is called The Golden Raven. So that's not a reread, of course, but I reread the entirety of the rest of the series at the beginning of this year, leading up to the release of The Golden Raven, and I think I'm definitely going to make a point to reread this series every year. I went a few years without rereading it. I think the last time I reread it was in 2018, before last year. And I want to make a point to reread it every year, because if you don't know, which you probably don't, the Foxhole Court is a little indie published sports romance that's queer and also has crime, and it originally was supposed to be a manga, and it, like, with comic panels, things like that, on Tumblr, but then it turned into a novel, and then it turned into a trilogy, and now we're getting even more books 10 years later, and I think that's so special because I loved it so much when I was in high school. And yeah, it has its problems. It's definitely not something I would recommend to everyone. In fact, I would highly encourage you to read the trigger warnings before reading The Foxhole Court if it sounds interesting to you. It is not for everyone, and like I said, it has its problems, but I have such an emotional attachment to this series and these characters. It's probably my favorite found family trope ever, and that's even just continuing into this new trilogy with as we expand on minor characters we had in the original trilogy, plus new characters that I love. And I'm excited for more and more from Nora. I think she's such a sweet soul. I love how much she cares about her art and her fans, and I love that it's stayed indie, and it's kind of like so fun just to have this little community that loves this, like, is so dedicated to this book series that's so niche. And so I just think the All for the Game books are really, really fun. And the made up sport in them is just, I think it's really fun to read about. But, the next series I reread in its entirety was The Hunger Games. Of course, I actually read Sunshine on the Reaping first, then reread the entirety of The Hunger Games because I wanted to, I don't know, after I read Sunshine on the Reaping, I just wanted to dive back into that world so bad. I wanted to, pick up on the things that she dropped in Sunshine on the Reaping. So that's exactly what I did. I think I reread these books last year too. And so maybe this is going to be a yearly tradition for me to reread The Hunger Games. I don't know. I am planning on rereading them this year because I would like to do a reread of Sunshine on the Reaping. So it's going to happen before the movie comes out in November. So maybe this will be my last Hunger Games reread for a while, but I really doubt it because the more I read these books, the better they are, the more I find. If I continue posting these episodes, I would expect some pretty in-depth voice notes about The Hunger Games because I got some ideas, and if there's one thing I love to talk about, it's that series. I mean, I could talk about it for hours and hours and hours. There is unlimited things to talk about, especially in our current political climate when it comes to the Hunger Games series, and how masterful they are. And the last thing I want to mention in this episode is just a shout out to my favorite thing with books that happened to me this year, which was starting a book club with my friends. It's been like one of the things I've looked forward to the most every month. And I've found some really great books I would have probably never picked up. I've had some really great discussions. I've got perspectives I probably wouldn't have thought about. I've gotten to just like gush about books and with other people, which has been really fun. And it just has been like a dream come true. I know that sounds so corny, but I've always wanted to be in a book club. And they don't always pick up if you've tried to start little ones here and there, and this one has only grown. And I'm looking forward to another year of book club, picking some really wonderful reads and even bad ones to have the discussion about it, and learning more. So if you haven't joined a book club and you like to read, even if that's the only book you read that month, I just think you should do it because it's a fun way to connect with other people. And I love hearing other people's thoughts on media. So that wraps up this episode. For the next one, I will be talking in depth only about my top 25 books of the year. Until then, bye-bye.